let's first of all get your views as to, well, things are improving at least, aren't they?
Yes, I think so. I think there's no doubt, Rishaad, that China in particular is viewed among the emerging economies as the one that has to be attended to very aggressively by European multinationals. And we are seeing them deploying better and better people as their country managers in China. The top talented expatriates are extremely good these days. And I think we're seeing a very aggressive push by most European companies to become bigger and better in China.
John Quelch, I mean, we've got a new 5-year plan in place, and I think they have the onus here essentially on qualitative rather than quantitative growth. A, what does that mean, and what does it throw up in terms of opportunities?
Yes, what they're talking about, Rishaad, is a slight decrease in the GDP growth rate per year, but a recognition is embodied in this plan that China's days as the simple factory to the world are not going to continue forever, and that there has to be much more focus on innovation, on knowledge creation, and on capturing more of the value chain in the production of goods than they've been capturing heretofore. So the emphasis is, one, on more innovation, particularly in 7 key sectors that are identified in the 5-year plan, and then secondly, an emphasis on somewhat increased consumption as a share of GDP, with a corresponding reduction in the savings rate. That, of course, has to be underpinned by an improvement in the social safety net here, because one of the reasons for the high savings rate is obviously that citizens are a little bit nervous about a catastrophic healthcare event, for example, where they absolutely have to have the money in the bank to pay for treatment.
Yeah, also, of course, we've got China wanting to move up the value chain. It's something which they've actually singularly failed to do in a real meaningful way. Do you think that's going to change?
Well, I think it is going to change, and there are a couple of reasons for it. I think, number one, the Chinese private sector, Chinese entrepreneurs are extremely adaptive. And I think once there is a roadblock to continuing to make good profit by being simply an order taker from overseas companies and an imitator rather than an innovator, once there's no longer money in that, I think that they will actually make some strong move to change fairly quickly. Now, the question is whether or not, even though China is replete with engineers and has a strong emphasis on science and training and education, whether or not the mindset is one that can quickly embrace a level of entrepreneurship at, let's say, the US or to a lesser degree the European level. I personally believe that with the number of people there are in China and with the motivation that exists in the private sector, that shift will occur, and that European companies and other foreign companies would be very well advised not to count on China being unable to make that shift.
John Quelch, I want to also just find out one thing from your report as well. It's showing that 43% of members here thought that the government policies there had become more discriminatory in the last 2 years. 46% expect that trend to continue. So really at the moment this is an actual increase from 2010. Where are companies finding problems doing business there?
Right. I think obviously one problem is increased competition from domestic competitors. A second problem is the intense competition for the attraction and retention of talent. But a third problem is definitely, as you imply, the transparency of government regulations and the enforcement fairness of government regulations. Now, why this number has increased, in my opinion, is that as companies move beyond the major Tier 1 cities to try and penetrate into Tier 2, Tier 3, and Tier 4 cities. The regulatory environment and the transparency, the fairness, the enforcement of regulations in those cities is not nearly as well developed as it is in, say, a Shanghai or a Beijing. And so
John,
we're seeing more problems arising as a result of that.